All right, so today we're going to dive into something a little bit different.
Okay.
We're looking at a list of the top 10 things to do offline.
Offline.
Yeah, according to the internet.
Of the irony.
Yeah, right? Pretty ironic.
Yeah.
You sent this list over to me.
Hmm?
And I know you're someone who really appreciates, taking a break from screens and stuff.
For sure.
So I'm hoping we can kind of go through this list and see if these suggestions are actually worth logging off for.
Yeah, it definitely got my attention when I saw it. I feel like there are more and more people these days who are just craving that disconnect, really looking for ways to step back from the digital world a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're diving into a list from a site called the Top Tens. It's basically a website where people can vote on top 10 lists about like anything you can imagine. And this particular list is all about things to do offline. And what I thought was really interesting is that the person who made this list actually believes that the internet should only be used for like research purposes, not for entertainment.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, they think that too much internet can really mess with your mental and emotional well-being.
Yeah, there's definitely a conversation happening around that these days.
For sure.
So I'm curious, are these suggestions that we're going to be looking at, are they actually good, solid alternatives to, just endless scrolling?
Yeah, are these actually going to get us to log off? Let's find out.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so hitting the top spot. Number 1 is go outside.
Simple but effective.
Yeah.
And judging by the quote here, playing outside is better than playing Fortnite. It seems like our source is pretty passionate about this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, right? This call to disconnect from the internet is coming from, well, the internet.
Right.
But I get it. Sometimes you just need to unplug and breathe some fresh air. I know I'm as guilty of getting sucked into my screens as anyone.
Yeah, it's a good reminder for all of us.
Okay, number 2 on the list is read a book. And they specifically call out physical books over digital ones.
Yeah, there's something to be said for the tactile experience of holding a physical book. Turning the pages, the weight of it in your hands. It's a different kind of immersion, I think. And it really helps you disconnect from the digital world in a way that an e-reader just can't quite replicate. What do you think?
I mean, I actually love my e-reader, especially for travel and convenience.
Yeah.
But I do think there's something about curling up with a physical book. It just feels different. It's almost like a ritual.
Yeah, it engages different senses, for sure.
Yeah,
Creates a deeper connection to the words on the page.
totally. Okay, moving on to number 3, exercise. Now our source mentions hitting the gym once or twice a week, which tells me they value structured workouts.
Yeah, it's not just about casual movement for them. There's dedication there, like a focus on pushing limits and achieving specific fitness goals. That kind of mindset can have a ripple effect on other areas of life as well, I think.
That's interesting. So it's more than just the physical benefits, right? It's about building discipline and a sense of accomplishment. Okay, number 4 on the list is take a walk. And get this, our source apparently takes 3 to 4 walks a day.
Wow, that's impressive.
I know, right?
They even mention aiming for that 10,000 steps a day goal, which is great for overall health. And it's such an accessible form of exercise. You don't need a gym membership or any special equipment.
Yeah, and it's a great way to clear your head. Honestly, some of my best ideas come to me when I'm out for a walk.
Yeah, it's amazing what a change of scenery and some fresh air can do for your creativity and focus.
Absolutely. Okay, up next is number 5, play sports. Now, I'll admit I'm not the most athletically inclined, but I appreciate that the source emphasizes that exercise isn't just for, athletes.
Absolutely. It's about finding activities you enjoy and that get your body moving. Team sports can be a great way to socialize and build camaraderie. But even individual sports offer a ton of physical and mental benefits.
Yeah, it's about finding what works for you, whether it's joining a local soccer league or just hitting the tennis court with a friend. Just getting active and having fun.
Great.
Okay, and that brings us to number 6, swim. Now, our source actually confesses to being a terrible swimmer, which I find quite endearing.
Oh, that's kind of cute. It adds a touch of humor to the list and makes it relatable, right? Like, even if you're not Michael Phelps, there's something so refreshing about just being in the water.
It's true. Swimming is such a great full-body workout, and it can be incredibly relaxing, too.
Plus, it's low impact, so it's easier on your joints.
Okay, number 7 on the list is one that really speaks to me. Learn a language.
Oh, I love that one. Speaking of expanding your horizons, it's a fantastic way to connect with different cultures and challenge yourself intellectually.
Yeah, the source mentions wanting to become multilingual, and they even make a joke about the Duolingo owl's like persistent reminders. Those language learning apps have made it so much more accessible.
Oh, absolutely. And think about the benefits, right?
Yeah.
travel opportunities, career advancement, just the personal satisfaction of mastering a new skill.
And it's such a brain booster, too, I've heard. Like, it can even help with things like memory and multitasking.
There's a lot of research to support that, yeah.
Okay, so number 8 is where things get a little interesting. Watch a movie. Now, isn't this still screen time? How does this fit into the whole offline theme?
Hmm, that's a good point. Maybe it's about the intentionality,
Yeah.
choosing a film and dedicating your time to that single experience, rather than getting sucked into the endless stream of online content.
So even when we are using screens, it's about being more mindful of our consumption, choosing quality over quantity.
Exactly. It's about savoring the experience rather than just mindlessly scrolling.
I like that. Okay, number 9 is a classic suggestion for finding peace and calm. Meditate.
Ah, yes. Meditation has so many benefits for mental, emotional, and even physical health. It's about training your attention and awareness. And it can be as simple as just focusing on your breath for a few minutes each day.
You know, I've tried meditation in the past, but I always struggled to quiet my mind.
Yeah, it definitely takes practice. But there are so many different techniques out there. You might find that guided meditations, or maybe focusing on like a mantra or something, it might be more helpful than simply trying to, clear your mind completely.
I'll have to give that a try. Okay, and finally, rounding out the top 10 is draw. Our source specifically prefers real-life drawing over digital platforms. They even call out a certain online art community. I won't name names.
Yeah, I wonder why they make that distinction. Perhaps it speaks to like a preference for traditional art forms, a desire to create something tangible.
Yeah, I think there's something really satisfying about the process of putting pencil to paper. It's a way to connect with your creativity in a very direct way.
Definitely, it's a tactile experience, engaging different parts of your brain than digital art would.
So there you have it, the top 10 offline activities according to our internet source. It's a pretty diverse list with something for everyone, I think.
Yeah, it really is. And what's striking to me is the emphasis on simplicity. These are activities that anyone can do, regardless of their budget or their skill level.
You're right. It's a good reminder that sometimes the simplest things in life are the most rewarding. Now, the list doesn't end there. There's a whole section of newcomers and contenders vying for a spot in the top 10.
Ooh, shall we dive into those?
Absolutely. Let's see what other offline gems we can uncover.
Welcome back to our deep dive into offline activities.
Yeah, we made it through the top 10. Now I'm really curious about some of these newcomers and contenders. What caught your eye?
Well, one that stood out to me was go to the mall.
Oh, wow, yeah. Remember malls?
Yeah,
Feels like a lifetime ago.
it really does.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about how the role of malls has changed. They used to be these like bustling social hubs, but with the rise of online shopping, they've kind of struggled.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, actually. I remember spending weekends at the mall with friends, browsing stores, grabbing a bite to eat. It was an experience.
It was a destination, for sure. A place to see and be seen.
Yeah, now it's almost nostalgic.
Totally.
Okay, what else is in this newcomers section?
Another one that piqued my interest was play an instrument.
Oh, I like that one. I've always wanted to learn to play the piano.
It's a great way to exercise your creativity and learn a new skill. And it doesn't have to be a huge time commitment either. Even just a few minutes of practice each day can make a difference.
That's encouraging. Maybe I'll dust off my old keyboard and give it a go.
I think you should. It's never too late to learn something new.
Okay. Any other contenders worth mentioning?
Well, there's ride a bike.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, they emphasize wearing a helmet.
Oh, safety first, always. I haven't ridden a bike in years. I bet it would feel amazing to just cruise around, feel the wind in my hair.
Yeah, it's a great way to get some exercise and explore your surroundings. And it
Yeah.
can bring back those like childhood memories of freedom and adventure.
Absolutely. Okay, I think we've covered the newcomers and contenders pretty well. Now, there was one thing on the main list that really stuck with me. The source included listen to music, but unless you have a radio, that requires the internet, right?
That's true. This raises a fascinating question, I think. How do we define being online these days? Like, is using a smartphone to play downloaded music still considered being online? It seems like the lines have become so blurred.
It really makes you think. I mean, our phones are practically extensions of ourselves at this point. It's hard to imagine being truly offline.
It is, isn't it? And I think this speaks to a broader point, maybe. Maybe it's not about completely disconnecting from technology, but rather finding a healthy balance.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's about being mindful of our relationship with technology. and making conscious choices about how we spend our time.
Exactly. And that's what I think this list is all about, really. Offering us alternative ways to engage with the world and with ourselves.
So, as we start to wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious to hear your overall thoughts. Do you think these suggestions are actually viable alternatives to endless scrolling?
Hmm. I think it's important to remember that everyone is different. What works for one person might not work for another. But I do believe that this list offers valuable insights. It reminds us about the importance of finding balance, making time for activities that nourish your mind, body, and soul.
That's a great point. It's not about following this list to a T, but rather using it as a springboard for exploring your own offline possibilities.
Exactly. So what resonated with you from the list? What sparked your curiosity?
Honestly, I'm really intrigued by the idea of learning a new language. I've always wanted to be able to speak Spanish fluently, and I think I'm going to make a conscious effort to incorporate more walks into my routine. It's such a simple thing, but it can make a world of difference.
Those are fantastic goals. It's exciting to think about the positive ripple effects those changes could have on your life.
It's funny, even though the source was advocating for limited internet use, their list actually highlights how interconnected the online and offline worlds have become. It's not about one versus the other, but about finding that sweet spot where they can coexist harmoniously.
Yeah, I think that's a really insightful observation. It's about recognizing that technology can be a powerful tool, you know, for connection and learning. But it's also important to step away sometimes and engage with the world in different ways.
So, what advice would you give to our listeners who are feeling overwhelmed by the digital world? What would you tell someone who's looking for ways to find more balance in their lives?
I would say start small. Choose one or two activities from this list that resonate with you and commit to incorporating them into your routine. It could be as simple as taking a 15-minute walk each day, or maybe dedicating an hour on weekends to pursuing a creative hobby.
That's great advice. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Just make small, consistent changes. That can lead to big results over time.
Absolutely. And remember, it's about progress, not perfection. There will be days when you spend more time online than you intended, and that's okay. Just keep coming back to those offline activities that bring you joy and help you feel more grounded.
Well said. And who knows? Maybe by embracing some of these offline pursuits, we'll discover hidden talents, reignite old passions, and ultimately live richer, more fulfilling lives.
I think that's a beautiful thought,
Yeah.
and one that's worth striving for.
All right, well, this has been an incredibly insightful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and helping us dive deep into this fascinating topic.
It's been a pleasure. I always enjoy exploring these ideas with you.
And to you listening, we hope you found this deep dive helpful and inspiring. Remember, the world is full of wonder and possibility, both online and offline. So go out there, explore, and discover what brings you joy.
Until next time.
We've covered a lot in our exploration of offline activities, and it's really got me thinking about how we relate to technology these days.
It is complex, isn't it? I mean, we
Quite a bit.
depend on it for so much.
Yeah.
But it's just so easy to get lost in all the information and the constant stimulation.
Absolutely. And this list, even though, well, it came from the internet, it's a good reminder, like, there's a whole world out there beyond our screens.
It's like we get so focused on the digital side of things. We kind of forget about those simple pleasures of just the physical world.
I like that you said simple pleasures because that's what really stood out to me about this list. So many of the suggestions, really anyone can do them. It doesn't matter how much money you have or what skills you have or even where you live.
That's so true. It's a good reminder that joy and fulfillment, they don't have to be complicated or expensive. We can find them in everyday moments away from all the digital noise.
When we were talking about go outside earlier, it made me realize, wow, I really miss just being in nature.
Yeah, there's something so grounding about it. Just spending time outdoors, whether it's a walk in the park or gardening or even just sitting under a tree, listening to the birds.
Like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. And I think that's something we can all benefit from,
Mm-hmm.
especially with how fast-paced our lives are these days and so technology-driven.
So for everyone listening, I want you to think about which of these offline activities really speaks to you? What have you been putting off, or what have you been making excuses for?
Don't let fear hold you back or self-doubt. You might surprise yourself. You might discover some hidden talent or passion when you step outside your comfort zone.
I love that. It's about giving ourselves permission to explore, to try new things, maybe even rediscover old hobbies that we've kind of forgotten about.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about finding what works for you and finding that balance that feels good.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to this idea that embracing these offline activities, it's not just about disconnecting from technology, it's about reconnecting with ourselves.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about nurturing our creativity and our curiosity and our sense of wonder.
It's about remembering that we're more than just, our online profiles. We are complex people with a whole range of interests and passions.
And those interests and passions deserve to be explored, both online and offline.
Well said. So, to everyone listening, we encourage you to take what you've learned from this deep dive and go out there and create a life that feels balanced and fulfilling and, well, authentically you.
Embrace the world beyond the screen. Discover the joy of offline living.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another insightful exploration.